You're listening to That Great Manc Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, argue.
Hi and welcome to the third of our Carling sessions supported by the Carling Made Local Fund. We'll be showcasing some of the amazing creative talent across our Greater Manchester that would normally be entertaining you and your local, helping them build their audience back and hopefully persuading you to grab a ticket for when they're back performing live. In this episode, Damian and I had a great chat with actor, charity worker and spoken word artist Marcus Christopherson. During lockdown, Marcus has decided to turn his love for spoken word into another way, along with the acting of expressing his creativity, with a view to getting out and about in the spoken word open mic circuit once we're back to some sort of normality. Loved this chat and can't wait to see Marcus performing these pieces live. Remember though, you heard them here first on the Carling Sessions. Oh, and as the Carling Sessions are supported by the Carling Made Local Fund, just a reminder to always drink sensibly.
I think I mentioned that I'm, although obviously it's great Manc podcast, I'm stuck in Yorkshire at the moment.
Mate, you are officially Mancunian. You're officially Manc made.
It's there. To be fair, all of my career, all of those things, everything that, and even looking over some of the bits for today, you know, the amount of influences that are Manchester based or from Manchester or have done similar to myself is huge.
We'll just dub you anyway.
Yeah, just put something else on. Just so you guys can understand me. I mean, I've been back for a month or two now, so I think my parents think I sound Manc when I come home. I know that a lot of people listening to this will probably dispute that, especially after a couple of months back home.
Oh no, where's home again?
So it's North Yorkshire near Scarborough.
Right.
Well, sort of home, where I came from. It's the last 3-4 years actually that I've said home as Manchester.
Yeah.
You know that you've been ingrained in the city when you start calling it home.
Yeah.
Working class Jack, laid on his back, smoking his Richmond cig. Who's to say that the man who lay shouldn't have ideas so big? Because upper class Hugh, second home with a view, doesn't think the idea's proper. Even middle class Jenny works hard for a penny. He'll do anything to stop her. Then there's Poundless Pete, no shoes for his feet, smacked off his head on spice, dreaming someday that the pain goes away. Even Jack doesn't look twice. Because ruling class Ralph would rather feed another's mouth, his old buddy and the school pal Hugh. So there's little left for Jenny, Jack, Pete, the few or the many, and none for me and you.
Like that. What inspired you for that one?
Literally, a fella laid down next to a shop in the centre of Ancoats. A standard corner shop that is the staple of not just UK cities, but I feel in particular Manchester. I love them. Yeah. I really do. I like hanging out. I think as much as I can understand, and obviously it's a big thing in the news at the moment about intimidation. Actually, quite often I find the people outside are quite friendly. I think it's about perception. Often. Guy just laid out having his cig, and it's that sort of stuff that inspires me. In all honesty, is very small individual moments, and then that gut feeling, and then it goes. I can't churn them out like religiously over and over and over. Just keep writing them down. I mean, if anybody is listening who wants to commission me, obviously cut that bit. I can do it. I can do it. Oh, just off the tee, anything you want. No, in general, it needs to, I don't know, either anger me, sadden me, any of these different things. And like to a point that I just feel like I have to write something down. And then usually the first few lines or almost like the trip of it sort of comes, and then it'll continue throughout that. But a lot of it's my own frustrations. I'm definitely not, I've not had a bad upbringing. I'm lucky to have two really supportive parents. So I've not had as bad as other people, but if I can see some of the ceilings that are put in place, then I can't imagine what some other people feel.
Well put, mate. Marcus, can you who you are and what you're doing, what you're about?
My name's Marcus Christopherson. I'm a Manchester-based actor, writer, and poet, and charity worker. Stick that in there. Sorry, that's not just for Damian. I do that a lot as well.
So
spoken word, that sort of thing, and writing short films. Varying degree, to be fair. I do think it's all about storytelling, though, and there we go. That's a terrible.
So how long have you been out of drama school?
So it's about 5 years now.
Right.
I went to Alder North.
Right.
Wigan.
Yeah, know it well.
Yeah, I've been in Greater Manchester almost for the last sort of 10 years there in Lancashire. And since then been working in the industry, making my own things as well. And it's only really this year that, because I think it's ironic, the program's obviously about people who wouldn't have got the chance to go on stage and show their things. Ironically, I don't know if I would have been doing that anyway, with the poetry in particular and the spoken word, if it wasn't for both lockdown and yourselves to a certain extent. Well, yourself,
right?
So the irony is, although I'm missing out on getting to do those things, I may never have even thought about actually, in particular, poetry. Until obviously it took up a little bit of pace, and then obviously I spoke with David, which you gave me a nice heads up as well.
He texted me before, actually. Yeah, Dave. No, we call him Dave.
You do, Dave. You're confusing. Yeah, all the way around. Not David. That's it. I've got it wrong there, but you warned me right at the time, and I got it right on radio as well, so that's a good start.
No, it was great, mate. I mean, I'll listen to it.
Good. And I got the plug-in for you guys as well. I'm obviously good at plug-in.
Oh yeah, no, listen, it's always nice when somebody says something nice about you.
Well, the thing, I mean, we do plan to, although we use it doing this now as on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Our intention is, once it's safe to do so and everything else, is to take these sessions out into venues, because it's one of the reasons we actually put in for this project, and why me and Paul had talked about. We've been talking since last April about, we have a lot of friends that are creatives. We work with a lot of creatives, and it was that double hit of not only losing the creative income, if they did get an income, but most of them worked in hospitality to support that creative side, So we've been talking all the way through and doing whatever we can to actually give people paid employment by running sessions, our mental health creative sessions that we run with various sort of groups. So there's that. But then it was like, we got to here and we're thinking, mate, this is going on too long now, and these guys are going to be struggling developing their creativity. People will be going stale. So we said, well, we'll start like this because we can, and because nobody's going to stop us, and that's what we do. But then as a foundation to then, once we're able to, we'll take it out into the venues as well. Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely. I mean, Question Time makes it onto television, and this is much more gazing than that. And to be fair, putting the world to rights and probably solving a few more problems as well.
Mate, I've not watched that programme in years. It's just, there's no questions answered on that.
No. It's all off, written down what they've got. I mean, I've got a few notes, but it's probably not what they've got, the same amount that they've got written down to read from.
It was all natural, Marcus. We've not actually, whether anyone believes it or not, we didn't prep anybody. We just start the conversations. We open it up to whoever's on. And it seems as though nearly everything we're doing at the moment, people start talking about issues they've had and how they use the creativity to improve their mental well-being. And even though we're a well-being charity, we didn't tell them that's what they must talk about. Do you know what I mean? But I think people have realised that everyone's struggling. I've struggled, Paul's struggled. And how have we got through that? But also, it's important that we share how we get it through it with others. Because
Carlin has got me through it.
One of my things. I really think creativity needs to be done at a younger age as well. I think it opens up so many other doors. It doesn't mean you have to be an actor. It doesn't mean you have to be a writer, or anything creative. That creativity gives you, and I think teachers and people who work with kids can see that by giving them all these different things that they can choose to do.
Yeah.
So you don't get 45, 50, 70 and you go, oh, I really wanted to do that. You find out at 10 years old that actually I really want to do that.
Well, I mean, it's always great to get someone to back that up, and I'll tell you this for a fact. Certainly, when Mike made the amount of people that have either done a full life's work and retired, and then just thought, right, I want to keep on working, but I want to paint, or I want to do crafting stuff, or I want to sell this, or I want to sell that at that age. And as much as it's great to speak to them when they're doing something that they enjoy, that there's always that. And they say, I wish I'd done this 20 years ago.
I've got a friend.
I was bringing up kids.
He's
I
a
had
fantastic
commitments.
artist,
I had,
Paul. Sorry.
and we're a great country in taking, anything that's creative. We do it. Footballers, we get great footballers really creative, and we just, they train that creativity out of them so they can just, pass a ball and that's pretty much it. But sorry, Damo, what were you going to say then?
No, I said I've got a mate of mine. He's a fantastic artist, visual artist, painting, drawing, stuff like that. He's a businessman. He owns his own business, and he's always taking me. If I go out his house, he says, "Oh, my shed out here. I'm going to turn this into my studio when I retire." He's been telling me it for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I go round to there all the time, and I say to him, "We're doing this with a charity. We're doing that. We're doing this. Where's the painting you've done, mate?" And I said, "Why do you keep doing this? Why are you putting it off?" Because he is really good, and he thrives off it. He loves it. If he sees other people's work, and it just
it's a massive gamble to be creative. I mean, especially as an actor, it's a massive gamble. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, Marcus, but it's it's massively oversubscribed. There are, Manchester's becoming like LA. Everyone you speak to is an actor. Or say they're an actor. And to go into that, I've got a huge amount of, even for the ones that people say, oh, they're not very good, and you think, yeah, but they're going for it. It's what they really want to do, and they're going for it. And who are you to say they're not any good? Because you're getting as the same amount of jobs that they're getting, or you're getting nowhere near the jobs that they're getting, which is why you're saying that they're not very good. But I've got massive respect for anybody who goes out on a limb to do something that really floats the boat. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it is so difficult. And I mean, I come from a really rural background, and every time I go home, it's, oh, when you're on Game of Thrones or something like that. Honestly, you'd be great in that. You should give him a ring. And like, I mean, I've started to find emails of people now, and there is an element of pushing, but it's not quite as simple as just picking up the phone and giving somebody a phone call. And you go through this period, and I've spoken to, in particular, working class actors about it. And I remember this one fella, I won't mention his name because he doesn't like me doing the analogy, but he says he's an actor. He says he doesn't like actors. He's not a fan of actors because that's just what they do. Right. Whereas he always says, oh, I'm an actor. And then, I fit carpets as well. And that's why I like to put in that I work for Bernardo's. I do those things because actually sometimes the majority of my time is taken up doing that. But on the flip side, I want to push myself out there. I feel like I'm an actor. I feel like I'm doing those things. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are in that middle bit, and it's hard to tell. It's like all you hear is people who've made it is, well, you just got to keep at it. Yeah. But then on the flip side, you're seeing millions, like you say, sometimes thousands of people.
Why can't you be both?
Exactly.
Why can't you be a fantastic carpet fitter and a fantastic actor?
Yeah. And I don't think it's just this industry. I think the entire world's moving towards that. My granddad worked the same job for literally since he was 16, and he just retired this year at 86.
Wow.
Instead, moved away from apprentice to director of the company, in rural construction. But that's, and he lives such a humble life in a certain way. But he's very happy with that. And now we're moving to this world that's so fast paced that, I mean, I don't know too much about you guys, whether you have had to retrain or anything like that, but the amount of retraining that you have to do, my dad's done it, my mum's done it, I'm probably going to have to do it 10 times in my life, depending what it is. So in some ways, I think I'm quite well set up for the modern world. And like I say, I'm a fundraising manager for Bernardo, so I help to gain funds for them and stuff like that. And that is able to sit alongside my other work. Obviously, I love working for Bernardo's and I love charity work, but I'd be kidding if I said I don't want to just be a full-time actor and do that all the time. But it's not always the reality. And I think maybe if there are any younger actors listening to this, obviously go for it. And it's I don't call it a backup plan or a plan B or anything like that. It's just part of your plans. It's part of your plans. It's life. Yeah. It
is what it is, mate. You know, and that multiple. I mean, I've done it in the past where I was stuck. I worked for the civil service for years, and I became a union official, and that changed my life because it was like, well, I can be somewhere else. I can't, because I'd been told from being a kid, you get a job, you stay in it whether you like it or not. You know, there was never options to be a freelance or do this or do that. But as I've moved forward and it's been a risk, and it's fighting that old words in my head, and it's gone. Now I'm in a position where I pick up freelance work. I do bid writing, capacity building for other charities. I do the stuff with this charity. I'm a director of 2 CICs. Sometimes I'm not earning off all three, but one of them might just keep me going. Do you know what I mean? But
can I ask you one though, Damo? Which out of those things, like I'm sure there's lots of different jobs, like all of us that you've done. Like you say, what meant more, and even on not just for you, but on a social scale within your community, those things surely made a bigger difference than some of your jobs that you've had. Just because you haven't got paid doesn't mean that actually they've made a bigger impact.
Oh, I mean, you're opening a big can of worms here. That almost, I'm a druid and I'm very spiritual, and I do what I do from a big awakening of a time when I went walking up into the Pennines with full intention of never coming back, and I'll tell you, I was in the middle of nowhere. I walked around a corner, and there was a bloke walking his dog coming the other way in the middle of nowhere, and he looked up and went, "Beautiful, isn't it?" And I got life in my head. And I looked at him and I went, "Certainly is, isn't it?" My life changed from that day, and I swear I met an angel on the path that night.
Yeah. There's those little things that you can look back on. I don't know. Do you like actual angel, or he was an angel? I think it can be
whatever you want to call it. What I mean is for him to be there at that moment, to say that such a short thing, beautiful, isn't it? And I got in my head life, and I said, "Certainly is, isn't it?" That was it. That was the only interaction we had. Yeah. But he had to be there at that moment,
Yeah, I mean, life's a collection of moments.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And that one changed your life for, well, not even arguably for the better, without a doubt.
Yep.
If he hadn't been there, well, it doesn't bear thinking about. But that, and it doesn't matter how you think that happened. I mean, we've talked about that. You've told me that.
It could be divine intervention. There's a Jewish, and I'll get it horribly wrong, but at any one time, there's 900 angels on this earth, but they flip in and out of us. So you'll know yourself, you'll be in a situation sometimes, and you just say something to someone, you think, where's that come from? But it's the exact words that person needed. I'm not saying he was a spirit wandering the Pennines.
No, of course.
He was in the right place. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, that's another conversation. And I just think that it's a lot. It's a lot easier to. And I've certainly learned this since we've been doing the charity. It's a lot easier to be positive and get good stuff done than be negative about things and whinge. And I've never been a massive whinger, but I've had my moments. But it doesn't achieve anything. Which is why we're doing what we're doing, and we're actually getting stuff done. But we're also at an age where we don't have to worry about. I mean, it's like where Marcus is in his life. You're building your career, Marcus, aren't you? So you can't really. And I've seen it with other people where they burn an awful lot of bridges, and it's very difficult. I mean, fucking hell, I've burnt some bridges when I was younger,
when I look back, it's like Arnhem.
I mean, there's a few I wish I hadn't. Most of them I wish I'd done it more and bigger and more spectacularly.
I can understand on this example that we're talking about, if a young lady was walking past that shop, that she could feel intimidated. as well.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a baseline of perception of all of these things, that those people hadn't got there by choice. And actually, there's as good a chance that a police officer is the one that takes you away. It's down to bad people. It's not down to that. It's obviously it's on what people, things that they've done, but it's there's different levels. Of
No,
things
am I amazed?
It doesn't make you a bad person.
Listen, am I amazed there's some wrong-uns in the police force? No. Am I amazed there's some wrong-uns in the Catholic Church? No. I mean, there's wrong-uns everywhere. Yeah. Absolutely everywhere. Listen, let's hear some more of your stuff.
Yes, cool. Right.
That's you throwing us off talking about angels, Damian.
It was Marcus that took us off on a deep angle into a whole new range of podcasts, to be honest.
I don't know how we got there here, to be fair.
It's nice hearing you ask questions and inquire and be inquisitive, and because not enough people are. And I love people asking, why do you do what you do?
Yeah. It's because I don't have enough to talk about myself. It's easier. It's a
distraction technique.
Technique when you can't remember what to say. Well, what do you like doing?
No, the best thing to go is just pretend the mic's not working or your earphones. Sorry, mate. Go on.
No. It's for me. It's more interesting to to hear other people, and I think you get more honest answers out. I find more things that I want to talk about. There could be a million and one things that I wanted to prepare and talk about, but I think it's easier to keep the conversation flowing. And I am interested
because you never know where it's going to go. Ultimately, and we found that out, haven't we, Damon? Every time we talk, every day we start off talking about the charity and end up talking about monkeys in waistcoats.
People ask me, I know I won't go off on another time. It's a short one. This people ask me loads of times, why is it I do what I do? I've worked with Irish prisoners. I've coached and mentored the worst prisoners and offenders. I've worked on the streets for the homeless, and people say, "Why do you work with these people?" I went, because they've got my answers. It's listening to these people and just hearing that little gem or why, and that's my jigsaw. That's what makes up me. So
it's also interesting, mate. Isn't it? Unless you ask the question, and it's a stupid thing to say, but unless you ask the question, you'll never know what the answer is.
So this is a collection of poems called "Faded Rainbows Still Queuing," and they're all written particularly around the first lockdown and quite a lot of the frustrations that we were seeing. And it was written in the heart of Manchester, and I think that comes out as well. Faded rainbows. Empty streets, faded rainbows, faintest hope stuck on windows. Mouths covered, earth stood still, curtains twitch above the sill. Times are strange, but people stronger. Stay alert in times of sonder. Life is precious, moments more. We keep on going behind closed doors. Still. Time has stood still, yet faster than ever. Heavier than steel, light as a feather. Invisible enemy plain to see. Who's to blame? Not I or me. Closer than knit, harder to sever. Forever alone, always together. Stronger as one, even stronger apart. We celebrate life, but mourn from afar. Queuing. For hundreds of years, we've sat back as a nation, abandoned our posts and deserted our station. Red, white and blue, little room for black. White man to the front, rest to the back. You are guilty, as I am too, for forgetting our conscience and skipping the queue. As long as mine's all right, it's not a problem. Placing line's more important, don't care who's trodden. The British traditionally love a queue, but some things you can't wait for. Please, after you. And it's what I've felt throughout the entire thing is just this massive feeling of juxtaposition with everything.
Yeah.
Especially in the first lockdown. I don't know whether you have the same feeling of this one. It does feel like there's a little bit more going on and people are more used to it. I don't know whether that's the case. But
struggled this one, if I'm honest. This, I mean, yeah. We said this yesterday. The first one, bit different. Second one, yeah, a little bit more. But yeah, I think this one, it's just been that. Yeah, there's not been a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think, although it seems to be changing a little bit now. But yeah, have you not? That's interesting. That actually, have you not? Have you seen?
No, especially I have felt very less inspired in this lockdown, definitely, and more pushed down in that. But I guess what I feel is like it was more one feeling, whereas I was sort of used to it. I knew that this is what it is. I guess the only hope, like you say, is that light at the end of the tunnel. It's picked up definitely these last few weeks.
Yeah.
Knowing that there is a light, and it probably is outside having more light as well.
Yeah.
Probably helps. I think it makes a huge difference.
We really struggled start of January getting all our projects up and running again. We were, number one, I was flat, and straight away we'd done so much helping people and doing everything we could and living on the, really wearing yourself down to try and help the next lot or somebody else isolated or whatever. And then you sort of hit Christmas and it was like, I haven't got the energy to do this again. Yeah. So that was part of it. And me and Paul talked about it between us a couple of times. But then it was also like you're sending emails or you're phoning people. I was getting nothing back from anywhere. Yeah. And it was like everybody had just gone, fuck it, I can't be asked. I really can't be bothered anymore. Do you know what I mean? But that's changed as we got into sort of February and up to now. That momentum started again. It seems as though everyone's sort of keen to get going again now. Do you know what I mean? But I think the whole world just stopped for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the start, I think that was it. Like, I think it's exactly the same as you guys, to be fair, that feeling of frustration in this one. The second one was, for me, that was sort of the worst because I was still doing bits of certain work, but then not having anything else to breathe with or anything like that. But the first one, it was just such a strange feeling and alien and being so free in a sense that, I was going out for runs every day. I was being creative, writing poetry.
Yeah.
But then not being able to leave my living room. And I think that's what, in particular, this set talks about. Obviously, my other poem I read earlier, I think, comes more out of frustration and how I suppose something's been building up over years, whereas this was very much of the moment, each of them. And then, obviously, in particular, queuing, it's not directly related to COVID, but it was just part of the 6-week period of absolute, I don't know, you could say mayhem in some ways, but in other ways, though, spark and creativity. I'm a big believer, and this is slightly back to your point earlier, Damian, and it's strange because it's literally like live or die by the sword sort of thing, and I know that's not the right expression, live or die by the sword. You're living on the edge of like a sword, and I feel like you need to sometimes hit rock bottom to be able to come up and make some of your best work. And I mean, like you're saying, you're doing all these different things and it came from that. Yeah. Obviously, it's dangerous. I'm not saying to people...
It's not the ideal way, mate.
It's not the ideal way. And then do it. But if you do ever feel like you are down there, I think it's something that gives me hope and creativity is that I think of it almost like a stock market. It's got to come up at some point, really.
That's retaining hope, though. I mean, that's you've got... I used to say to people, I'd never want to live a flatline life. You've got to hit your lowest low to know your highest high. These people, when I was growing up and I was younger and, you go through, I lived in Clayton, rough area. A lot of people had lots of issues, but everybody did. So no one noticed, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college and I met people from other areas and that, and I remember one guy who's just like, I'd have a total meltdown if he ran out of hairspray. And you used to sit and look at him and think, there's nothing ever happened. Have your parents never split up, or there's nothing. Have you never been burgled, or you just think, what's wrong with you? And the thing was, he'd never had anything happen to him, nothing. So he had nothing to compare that against.
But he had beautiful hair.
Oh, I know him now, mate. It all fell off. It was funny as anything, but we won't even. He had this massive fringe, and I think it all fell off in one piece at one time. But anyway, but it was that thing of. you'd look at him and think, mate, do you know what fuck are you doing? You know, there's more important things in life. You know, you're in a good place. But he couldn't see that.
But I've definitely kicked some things for very petty stuff before, and it could very well come from other things as well. I'm a big believer in when you stub your toe to let everybody know about it. That's one thing.
Yeah, but that's
the frustration, that physical frustration. I actually believe in that a little bit. And obviously, people say climb to the top of a mountain and scream, and sometimes that works. And I do think getting that emotion out, it stops it just festering inside.
Well, writing those pieces, or writing spoken word. Right? I mean, do you class it as spoken word or poetry?
So, I mean, it's difficult because, like I was saying at the start, my career started in this particular thing, spoken word, I say career, but vocation, whatever it is, hopefully career. Started at the start of lockdown, really. I've written bits before, but actually showing it out there, it was just that period where everybody was throwing bits out, and I suppose it gave me that little bit of a blanket to throw out some creativity without potentially the worry of hurting my ego or my sensibilities or anything like that from if my work wasn't accepted.
If the pubs would have been open, and there's an open mic around the corner, I love the fact you're still calling it Ancoats as well, and you're not calling it, what is it,
New Islington or
New Islington. It was actually New Islington where I was as well, but Ancoats and Clayton represent, by the way. I used to, first lockdown, I was there in the Vale running every single day, and I know a few people around there. I love the working class areas of Manchester, which hopefully I'll chat a tiny bit about.
Mate, that
it's a good job you were running.
Winds me up more than it's Bradford, it's Ancoats, it's Clayton, it's not East area.
He won't like why I had to move out. Guess what? My house is getting knocked down.
to build flats.
Honestly, yeah. That's why I'm in Yorkshire at the moment. I'm coming back in a few weeks. I've got a new flat, but I had to move back because they're knocking it down to into flats.
Unbelievable. But if there was in the Frog and Bucket, although there is a Frog and Bucket around the corner from where you were, but if in the local pub they were doing an open mic night, would you have gone? Would you have tested this stuff out?
So the things I'd actually been writing in my own time and things like that was actually more music. I've got quite a few songs as well.
Okay.
However, I don't think I'm a bad singer, and I'm not a bad guitar player, but I actually only learned when I was about 23 years old. So that's a bit like we were saying earlier that, I wish I did that earlier.
Yeah.
Have you got your guitar there, mate?
I don't actually, mate.
Oh, I bet he has really proud.
No, I actually don't. So,
if you look down behind him, he's got 7 on the wall.
No, I'm not amazing. I don't think. Well, I'm okay. It's just, again, it's one of those things. I've shown it out there. I don't know how many people actually do appreciate it. So I was going to give that a crack, but again, that was more for an experience. To be fair, I think I've actually started. I think knowing that I can do the spoken word, that's probably more the direction that I want to go, because the reason that I wrote these things was because I had things down in my head and I had a bit of a tune and things like that, and I'm happy to do that. Anyway, I think spoken word sometimes goes well with music.
Well, I mean, look at Dave's career. With the singing, and I mean, he was on we had a charity album out last year, Matt made Acts of Hope, still available, but Dave's on that with Neighbours. I don't know if you've heard the song the Neighbours, which is brilliant, all about the Northern Quarter and everything else. But I mean, that's where he saw his, because he was, the thing is with spoken word, and it's like any performance like that, you've got your stuff that you do, and unless you're really prolific, you're doing the same things at every performance. So you've got to move around, otherwise people are. And I know you get the people who come and see you all, the same people who come and see you, but for new audiences, there aren't that many places doing really, great open mic nights or spoken word nights. So you've got to be really careful. And I've no fucking idea where I was going with that one.
No, it's a natural progression. I mean, our kid's done it brilliant. He's absolutely, totally shown everybody how to then step up. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where he always wanted to be, because he's got a massive love of hip hop and music anyway. That's in his DNA, really.
Well, Sorry,
Dave Viney. Dave Viney, another good mate of ours, fantastic spoken word on the circuit. And he did the song that's on the album in collaboration. And it really works. We love that piece anyway, and we adopted it as a Manx Spirit piece, although Dave Viney probably won't let me say that because he didn't write it for us. But then to do that for the album, it was perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'll be excellent. You've got that, the performance element, to me personally, makes it. I mean, you can listen to some amazing poetry and take it for what it is, but I like the performance aspect of it. And even in the pieces that you've done, the way you say it, you're performing it, and that's
I can't wait to bring it to an audience.
Oh mate,
yeah, I think that's where I would sit it, and the more I think about it, I am like, and I'm only 27 years old, but I'm still getting that moment of, oh, why didn't I do that a bit earlier?
Yeah, don't lose that. Don't
always
lose that.
do it. And I think so. I think my point of just writing, and obviously we've mentioned there's very different things, and I think you're seeing that more and more with artists. And I really don't think that you should be constrained or feel like you need to be.
Don't pigeonhole yourself.
No, exactly. I mean, what you're doing by doing that is actually pigeonholing your ideas. There's a lot of things that I've come up with, and I'm like, I've written theatre, I've written short films, comedy, various different things. And when you've got this idea, sometimes it's impossible. So there's some theatre pieces just would not work in film. It's impossible to get the idea across. Same with poetry.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great about poetry is you can take things off that maybe you couldn't stage, and you can create these images in people's heads that would be very difficult to actually make.
Absolutely.
On the flip side, there might be something that fits a film much better as well, and it needs to be realistic. This story needs to be told properly. Just keep it straight and narrow. And I'd rather not be constrained, to one area of work, and actually let those ideas fall into different things, because that feeling of frustration, I couldn't have got into anything other than, I think, maybe something like a painting, maybe if I was that style of artist. That level of metaphor into such a small space of time. I couldn't have made a film on it. It'd been so confusing. I'd have been back and forth. It suited poetry, that feeling.
Well, not only that, some creations that you've got to do in there and then. It's like, I'm frustrated. This thing's pissed me off. I need to get it. I need to write about it. I need to put it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one 2 years. So we created. Well, it's almost 2 years ago. Luckily, it is coming out this year. I mean, obviously,
that's with Jack in it. The film with Jack. Doing it.
Yes, Jack. Yeah. So he's brilliant.
Jack
I love Jack. Yeah, brilliant. So it's about fundraising, which is, as I mentioned, my day job, and where I really fell in love with Manchester and its people, and really started seeing actually life in a different way. I was coming into my early 20s, and I was going around literally every part of Manchester. So from Altrincham, Hale Barnes, the Golden Triangle, all the way to, Blackburn, Burnley, Blackpool, complete different things. And I'm not just talking about those two extremes. You can have what looks like exactly the same council estate in South Manchester as to North Manchester, and the people are completely different.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yes, absolutely. You saw a lot of that when there was Brexit signs out about. I was like, I can't understand it. They've got the same front gate.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah.
So, Marcus, you in the same group as Keaton, Jack? Were you all at, was the college in Wigan?
Yeah, so I went to drama school with them. Alder North. They were on the 3-year course. I'd come in technically as a mature student, but probably the most immature student you've seen in your life, both actual age and mental age.
No, you would have fitted in with those two.
Yeah, exactly. And that's obviously why I thought with a comedy that I needed to get Jack in on it. So it's based on those experiences. And actually, although it's based on the main characters of, there's Josh Hart, who's in the scene as well, Sam Hotchin, and directed by a guy called Abel Graham. We're called All Souls Productions for a little bit of a plug.
Right. Absolutely.
It's the main thing actually is to bring out these characters that I met. Because the thing about doing door to door is you literally have got a different character behind every single door. Which
is that what you were doing
for a sitcom? Yeah, so knocking on doors. I'm now a manager of it. I know. So 50% of this will have switched off already now. Like, not them. However, obviously, for an amazing charity, so you do feel some vindication from it.
Yeah.
And we did
No,
do
I just
well.
mean it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard,
No,
mate.
of course it is. It's
hard.
I have had people open the door and actually take time out of the day to thank me for what an amazing job I'm doing. And then 3 doors down, I get told to, do what? Cough. Yeah. And
that'll be me.
To be fair, I've had that before, and then I've got him on board and helping the kids. So it's not always a dead end. But I think the amazing thing here is the different things that you get behind each door. And particularly for a vehicle, for a sitcom, and particularly a place like Manchester, it's about getting those characters out. So we've used lots of Manchester-based actors, and it's almost like a fairy tale. We go around, and although we are there as the main characters, the fundraisers, it really is about the people behind the doors.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's that's one. I mean, there's characters everywhere. I know that, but I do think Manchester has its, and Greater Manchester certainly has its characters. Yeah,
you certainly find when you got. I mean, I've done a lot of political campaigning in the past for different parties, mainly for people. Not a lot of it was around gentrification, around Newton Heath, places like that. And the people who were standing, I believed in them, and I've done all that door-to-door stuff. And mate, you just end up, if you don't laugh, you'd be crying by around the fourth door. But I made it into a game in the end where you're like, right, who's behind this door now? And you can never work it out. You're like, beautiful garden, they open the door and they're horrible. And then you go to the next one and you think, oh, I think I know who's here. No.
Absolutely. Completely different.
But it's taking
that's the great thing
them.
For a creative, really, is and it's particularly creative who likes talking about people, working with people. It just the amount of inspiration that you get from day to day. I've never had a job where I could really just walk in, sit down in somebody's house and just have a chinwag with them for a bit. I mean, I've not been doing it this year, just to be clear, not since last March, which is sad because it is the best part of the job and the most inspirational. And again, like I say, it's what made me really feel mank is I've probably know more streets than you guys, all these little back things. Yeah. And you knock every single door in the entire place pretty much. And it's great to see that level of, it gives you both hope in humanity. And then, like you say, Damian, the next door, it'll take all of that away in a second.
I mean, I say it now, even at my age, you try not to prejudge people and situations. And you still do, and it's great to be really, really pleasantly surprised by someone or a situation, and it's certainly, again, the older you get, the rarer that becomes, doesn't it, Damian? Especially doing what we're doing, you meet a lot of people who are. I
would say prior to throwing myself into the charity work full, the people that other people would consider lost or outcasts or whatever are actually the ones that are the gems. Yeah. They're the ones that have given me hope, really. Because, when you meet somebody in a prison and you find somebody and they've got plans for the future and the thing, and you're thinking, you're amazing. What a survivor, you've ended up in this.
They're the stories that really get me, when you hear people of what they've come through and what they get to that. It's awe-inspiring, really, and should inspire people. And it's not to take away. I don't think if there's anybody sat out there who's like, oh, actually, I haven't had, like the hairspray guy, I haven't had much happen to me. That is a good thing. You can find ways to inspire.
Absolutely. I think it's about being authentic, whatever your situation is. Just be you, and I think don't try and be something. I know that's a bit weird saying that to an actor, isn't it? The best piece of advice I can give to you, Marcus, is don't try and be anybody else.
I think, to be fair, more and more it is actually becoming some element of that. Like you say, the market is so saturated in a certain sense that quite often, especially the start of your career, they are looking for you to be some element of yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe in some senses the character actor is dead. I think that is one of the slight problems with Netflix and Amazon. I think it's brilliant in lots of ways. I love the internationality of it, the fact the crossovers of all these different styles. However, and it's given lots of actors jobs. You know, I get them through for Netflix. A lot of my friends get auditions and things like that for that.
Yeah.
So it's great for that side. But then I think it does take away from, perhaps the nuances of giving actual acting a crack and playing all these different characters.
Well, I mean, there is, but it's never been easier to go out and do that. It's never been easier to go out and do your own short film. And if somebody sees it, and, you know, listen, I mean, plenty of people say, yeah, but I've done this and no one's seen it and I've not had my lucky break. And you just think, right, so what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
You either, you know, you keep trying, or you put yourself in the position where somebody will see you doing what you do, and they might go, oh, yeah, that's the one we want. But to do that, you got to put yourself out there and you got to take risks.
And don't burn bridges, like you said. Not too many, anyway. Not too many.
Yeah, don't burn bridges.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Marcus, I could talk to you for hours about and explore these different, you know, the things.
Good, genuine. I'd love to, guys. Like, I mean, especially after things, if you just like want to do it with, well, both again on the stage or whatever it is, or actually just in the pub with ourselves, because it seems like we've got more than enough to chat about.
If you've got any ideas about a project or something where you feel you could bring your experience and skills, the charity, even though me and Paul have set it up, it's not ours, right? It's there for, and we say this to everyone, you know, you inspire me. So if you come up with an idea or a project, please bring it to us. If we can use the vehicle of the charity to make that happen, you know, as long as it fits in with our aims, objectives, and all ticks, you know, you've got to tick boxes, you've got to do the right thing and stuff. Please come to us.
I think you're a great actor. I think you're a really good bloke, and that's pretty obvious from this conversation. But also, I love the fact that, you know, you're a really good actor and the spoken word and all that kind of stuff. But they're working with Bernardo's, and, you know, there aren't that many people who, I know, you know, it's a job and it pays you, but there aren't that many people who give back. And I think that says, you know, an awful lot about somebody when they do. So, listen, thanks, mate. It's been lovely speaking to you. And
thank you both. It's been great.
And you're an inspiration, mate.
Definitely be doing more stuff.
And what I'll say, I was that sort of impressed and caught up in it that I've been able to smell me takeaway curry downstairs for the last half an hour, and I'm still here talking to you.
Oh, thank you, mate. Honestly, that means I've been needing a pee for half an hour. Like, normally I'm like, can I go, please? Can I?
No, I've already been.
We're cracking open a tin.
I don't even get up anymore. I just, you know, when you get to a certain age, Marcus.
Ace meeting you, mate, and I'm sure we'll do a load of stuff together. Keep in
contact, definitely. Obviously, I lived in Wigan for a couple of years as well, so if there's anything that I can help out with, just let me know.
Right, no, that's as much of a connection as we need.
Okay,
you will be involved.
Brilliant.
All right, listen, have a great weekend, mate. You take care,
guys. Yeah, you too.
See you later,
bye.
See you, pal.
Take care, man.
See you later, Demo. Enjoy your takeaway.
See you later, mate.
See you. Right.
I'll go join the fam.
You're listening to That Great Mank Pod, Greater Manchester's community podcast. Top one, our kid.
Did you do A-levels?
I did do A-levels. I've done uni, and then I've got masters as well. I did masters at drama school, so I did that.
Acting?
Yeah. So I did that. Acting.
I didn't mean to sound surprised when I said that. What was that?
Acting. You couldn't tell, mate. You couldn't tell. Yeah, it's for the confidence booster.